Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring in our bottom half of Vanny Research Station, NoN forsakeNXE, our red Masters level Terran on the EU server, and we have his opponent in the top half of Vanny Research Station. We have a Barcode Zerg. He is a Grandmaster Zerg, also on the EU server, so hey, we got that Zerg versus Terran thing going for us, which is pretty nice. This map is pretty cool too. I think it's kind of weird that this ramp looks much smaller than this ramp, and by look I mean definitely is. Even though that's the one that goes down into the third, I really like this play coming out from the Zerg Barcode players to move his Overlord off to the left side. Usually you'll see pretty much everybody straight up and down rally their first two Overlords straight down and usually just make a beeline for that natural expansion. The problem with that is Vanny Research Station is kind of unique in the fact that there's really not a lot of terrain for your overlords to abuse. Some of the terrain is like this, where it's impassable but definitely see-overable, so the Marines will be able to pick off your overlords. In fact, unless you're capable of getting to the spattering of high grounds pretty much anywhere, your overlords have to be incredibly careful to make sure that they stay exactly where they need to. So I've seen a lot of Zerg players just position their overlord right here and stop it. Like, that's it. I'm not even going to go to the other side. I'll do drone scouting. It'll be fine. And then sometimes they risk trying to get over here, but rarely do they risk pushing in. And this is a really nice way to kind of abuse the terrain. Come over here, sneak your way down on the left side, sneak your way down, I guess, in the middle. Let's see if he actually stops. Oh yeah, look at that. He's got it rallied off down to the right side too. So this is just it's a pathway that the SCVs are not going to take, so they're not going to see these overlords in the area, and it's hopefully going to make it so that Barcode doesn't lose any overlords unnecessarily, because in this game, you know, you lose those overlords, you become supply capped. It's just an unfortunate situation to be in if you're Barcode. So you know, we'll see if Forsaken does some scouting with his SCVs, or maybe just this Reaper that's coming out. We did see a gas first build. He had that barracks timing, had the 50 gas right whenever the barracks was finishing pretty much, and we have a hatch first build coming out from Barcode. I say hatch first. Yeah, hatch first. Again, I wasn't super paying attention because Vanny is huge. It's very big. And you might ask, you know, why is the hey, there's so much cool stuff that this Barcode Zerg is doing right now. I mean, yeah, it's Terran, but Forsaken's he's got his Terran thing going on. He's doing the very typical Reaper first opening, and the Reaper's going to come out and it's going to absolutely be able to see what sort of shenanigans Barcode's getting up to. But Barcode's actually getting up to some shenanigans, so that's pretty neat. We do see the hatchery going down on the low ground. He's not going over here at the very normal natural, like it's protected. Why wouldn't you go there? Well, I'll tell you why. Because of creep. You throw your hatchery down on the low ground and you automatically have basically a creep termer right here. You know, it shows that Barcode's planning on being a little bit more aggressive with his creep spread, and that's very important because on this map, there's not a lot of terrain for you to abuse. There's not a lot of nooks and crannies for the Marines to kind of squeeze into, and because of that, it's very powerful to have some very quick Zerglings and then Baneling play. Even the Roaches with the Hydra being reinforced by the creep spread is just significantly more intimidating. And so you can let your creep get out of control on this map. And in order to do that, I really like this opening where you get, you know, a handful of aggressive queens. We see a third queen coming out right now. It's going to be your designated pooper, because we don't see any motions from Barcode, like he's going to be throwing down another hatchery. We do see the CC going down in the typical natural for Forsaken, and his Reapers are poking in, just biding some time so his factory can get up. We also see a reactor being thrown down on the barracks right next to the factory, probably going to be opening with some very typical Hellbats, Hellions rather. And this is very important. You want to keep your Reapers alive when you're doing this aggressive kind of poking. For Forsaken, you'll note that he's not poking up here to the high ground. He doesn't really care what's going on in his opponent's base. He's already scouted out just a single gas. Probably saw that the spawning pool was wiggling away because it was definitely working on metabolic boost whenever he popped up there. But there's nothing else he needs to see. What he needs to do is keep these guys alive so that when those Hellions come out, and we've already got them on the production tab, he'll be able to really start poking in there. If you have two Reapers and I think 4 Hellions, you can take down a queen without having to worry about the Zerglings at all. I think that's usually where you pop off into being able to take down the queen without losing any units at all. 2 Reapers, I think, allows you to tank the hits and then heal them up, and then the Hellions just really out DPS a single queen like that. So with 2 queens out in the field, we'll see if you know, it starts to go more into his favor. But we do see that designated trooper just working on the tumors. And a defensive roach ward. A defensive roach ward is what I say, because those roach wards have extra armor. They're going to be able to absolutely repel this small little push from Forsaken. And this is designed to deny the third. That's what this is designed to do. However, because of Barcode's very clever play and getting that natural on the low ground, and then the third in the secluded area, Forsaken's really denied that. He can't come in here unless he's got a medevac coming out to medevac his Hellions into this area, and then even then he's going to have to sacrifice his Reapers to pop up here, because this is really the only way those Reapers are going to be able to get into that third. Forsaken is kind of denied the opening that he wants to use right now, and he's being forced to retreat, even building a Banshee right now, and I have a feeling that Banshee was probably destined for a mineral line, but all things considered is probably going to be having to hold back and actually out DPS these roaches if they tried to, you know, poke up the front door. This Banshee is definitely going to be a godsend for Forsaken's defense, but he wants to use it for offense. He wants to use it to equalize the playing field, because now your Zerg is on 3 bases and Forsaken's just on 2. Has he started the other CC? He has. There we go. Orbital command already done right now. And we see the 111 is transitioning nicely. I mean, we've got stem already starting up. That's actually going to be hitting that 11-minute timing a little bit after the 11 minutes, right? Yeah, 170, so like 11:30 or something like that. But that's still really good. I mean, the 11-minute timing attack for the 1-1 and a stem is very, very typical. So he's already starting up on that stem. I'd love to see some eBays going down if he hasn't already made the eBays. He has. So 2 eBays right here, just waiting to start that 1-1 so it all lines up, realizing that he can spend his gas on other things. 4 more barracks on the production tab. I love the Spore Crawler being positioned over here by the third, even one in the main too. And the natural really just crossing his T's, dotting his I's. Barcode's got it going on, man, and he's got that 1-1 going, but note that it's not a ranged weapon attack. He's going to be transitioning away from those roaches. How's his gas? Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I was going to be looking for. If he's got 4 gas taps, he's got that +1 ground. He's going to be making motions like he wants to move into the Spire. Because of those upgrades, you can really tell that. It's very, very obvious. I do not like the positioning of the evolution chambers. Sometimes you see it up here at the top ramp, making kind of a pseudo wall in, especially when you have 2 different bases that you have to defend. It can be very handy to be able to plug a run by with just a single queen, but also you can have that pseudo wall in kind of down here, making it into just make it so that your enemy has to run around the hatchery. That can always just buy you a couple more seconds, a little bit extra time, but all things considered, who cares? Because if your enemy gets to your hatcheries, you're already behind the 8 ball, and I think that's what Barcode is actually going to be relying on. The addition of the Marauders is nice, but I think the majority of the meat is coming from these Marines, and Forsaken's going to be he's going to be feeling pretty good whenever he moves out and sees those Mutalisks. We have 9 Mutalisks on the production tab right now. Centrifugal hooks. 1-1 is done for the Barcode player, not done for Forsaken. So he's going to have to be very, very careful. He wants to keep these creep tumors in check, and with those creep tumors moving out right now, that's just a juicy target that Forsaken's not going to be able to hold himself back from actually taking advantage of it. But he's got to be very careful. He cannot afford to get too far onto this creep with the upgrade advantage not in his favor. Yeah, he's got just 10 more seconds, but no, there goes the engagement. The roaches and the Zerglings get right on top of him, as do the Mutalisks. I don't think this is going to come out in the favor of Barcode, but I don't think Forsaken's going to be able to win this enough to actually shut down that hatchery. And there goes the hot pickup and the retreat. Once again, just underestimating the pure power of those queens. They do quite a lot of damage. You can see that the 8 Mutalisks, there's only 2 of them left out on the field right now, 2 more on the production tab, but plenty of Zerglings, plenty of roaches still left alive. And so yeah, like I said, Forsaken did get rebuffed. He accomplished kind of what he came for. Again, this is one of those, I have this harassing unit like that Banshee earlier, now those Mutalisks, I have this harassing unit, I want to harass with it. Why don't you just let me harass with it? And the other players being aggressive enough to make it so that you can justify not harassing with those Mutalisks, instead sacrificing them on a direct engagement, which is not cost effective at all for Barcode, and it wasn't cost effective for Forsaken early on. So yeah, this is nice. This is really nice back and forth. We're at the 13-minute mark. We've definitely seen 2 different engagements, both going absolutely neck and neck. 72 over 70 for the harvester count, so really neck and neck, 3 bases versus 4, but that 4th base is purely there for the gas. Really going to be transitioning his saturation over into the gas just to make it so that he can work on that bank. We can see 11k minerals saved up right now for Barcode, and he's just continually churning out units. He's only making 1 Mutalisk right now. Okay, he's got 8. The magic number for Mutalisk, I believe, is 9, so that you can one-shot those Widow Mines, and really keeping that Widow Mine count in check can make it so that the Banelings can really get the connections, because that's what Barcode's going to be relying on. He can't really rely on his Mutalisks to be able to clean up this heavy Marine army, but there's so many Marines in this army that if you have just a handful of Banelings, you can absolutely decimate it, and I think that's what Barcode's going to be relying on, and I think that Forsaken knows that. He's leaving behind his a handful of Widow Mines, a handful of Marines. I guess no, he's bringing his Widow Mines. I don't know. I guess the Mutalisks are getting kind of frisky, and Forsaken's trying to engage them, but I think that Barcode's unit control is going to be on point, to the point where I just don't see Forsaken being able to corral these Mutalisks unless that's exactly what Barcode wants. And right now Barcode is just distracting Forsaken. He is doing a run by with his Zerglings down here into the 3rd. At the same time, his Mutalisks are camping on top of production. Got to be careful though. Plenty of Marines coming out from that production. Is going to be having no problem at all killing those guys. But we do have a hive on the production tab right now, and we're at 2-2, right? Yeah, 2-2 on the upgrade. So if those Ultralisks do start coming out, because that's the tech that Barcode is definitely working towards, is those Ultralisks. That can be for a world of hurt. A little bit of an engagement going on here. A lot of Baneling hits, and it looks like the Thor did go down, so these Mutalisks had no problem sweeping in here, trying to keep the number of those Mutalisks, those Medivacs, in check. However, plenty of Marines did survive down on the low ground, and it looks like that's enough to rebuff those Mutalisks. Both armies totally in shambles, and that comes out in the favor of Barcode because he's got 1 base up. However, Forsaken has quite the Congo line of units. He's just continued to churn them over. Barcode's not doing his best keeping his money in check. I mean, look at all that supply that he's not using, and look at all the money that he's not using. He is producing a lot of units, but it looks like he's trying to spend just enough to hold back this attack, and then once his Ultralisk Cavern is done, he'll produce a lot of Ultralisks and just go and win the game with that tech advantage. However, the result is that he's just kind of trickling in units one at a time, and I suspect this is because he's out of larva. Yeah, he's only got 3 larvae right now. Can't really produce the units that are going to win this engagement, which would be a very roach-heavy pushback. And wow, look at that, adding just a handful more Marauders, making it so that he's prepared for those roaches, can really go a long way. I don't know if you noticed it, but he did get the concussive shells. I noticed when we were looking at the 2-2, thought that was a weird upgrade, but he saw those roaches earlier, and I guess he was aware of the fact that this push right here can kind of trigger that kind of panic response. But look at this. This is what cost Barcode the game right here, is he had so much money left over and he just couldn't spend it down. I don't know if it was greed because he was waiting for the 3-3, he was waiting for the Ultralisk Cavern to get done. I suspect this has more to do with it than anything else. He produced a lot of Zerglings, made a lot of Banelings, and just wasn't getting the connections enough to justify the larva expenditure. Oh man, I was worried I like missed a drop or something like that, but no, that was just something being built, and then it got canceled. That would have been terrible. Not a lot of drops, actually. Not a lot of drops. Usually you see that with the bio opening. Speaking of opening, for a little bit of a quick recap, we did see Forsaken do that very typical, shall we say, Reaper and Hellion aggression, and it was a really clever. I love the opening from Barcode, making it so that hatchery's down on the low ground. A little bit of a risk reward situation here, but because there was no super early pressure, just a couple of Reapers, Barcode was able to succeed in taking this natural rather as opposed to this natural, and because of that, he was just well in position to hold off any form of aggression coming out from Forsaken, and in fact was counter aggressive, and that also made it so that the Banshee that was coming out from Forsaken completely floundered, and then Forsaken rallied. I mean, he got his macro up to where it needed to be. This unit composition really shines at that 11-minute timing attack, and he succeeded in hitting it, even though he also went on to build that Banshee and invest a lot of minerals into that. So this is very impressive for him to only be behind like 20 or 30 seconds. I didn't even look at the exact time whenever that push happened, but he was only behind by a couple of seconds, and still being able to hit that time attack even though he was aggressive is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. You know who else is cool? People who watch my videos. So thanks for that. If you have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Big and Scary. Bye.